deserts of the South Arabian Gulf, empty, arid, secret. Until the oil began to flow in the 1960s, one of the least visited regions of the earth. Through the centuries, no colonial power had ever wanted to occupy this land. Even the British, jealous of their route to India, only made sure that the rest of the world stayed out. But Dubai was different. Dubai had a saltwater creek which the traders had used for many years to shelter from the Gulf storms and to exchange their cargoes. Over the generations, they had made a name for themselves for bold seamanship and honest trade. They sailed not only across the shallow waters of the Gulf, but all around the great arc of the Indian Ocean. From Karachi to Zanzibar, from Ceylon to Aden, they knew where to find the goods and where to find the customers. Dubai was also the center of the Gulf pearl trade, and until the 1920s, the pearl fishing fleets were bringing home good harvests. The city prospered. The houses on the creek side, with their elegant wind towers, were built with a spaciousness and style far grander than any others along the Gulf coast. But the cultured pearls of Japan killed the Gulf trade, and World War II closed the sea routes to India and Africa. By the late 40s, Dubai was in decline. The creek banks were crumbling. The channels had become treacherous with shifting sandbars. But at just the right moment in history, Dubai had a ruler who saw that the destiny of his kingdom lay in the waters of the creek. He was determined to see Dubai as the chief port of the Gulf, the harbor filled with shipping, the banks lined with the tall buildings of commerce. And Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum was not just a dreamer. He was a planner, an engineer, a businessman. He borrowed £500,000 from local businessmen to finance a survey of the creek and set the bulldozers and pile drivers to work. And within a few years, the silted creek had been utterly transformed. It was no mere repair job. It was massive, imaginative, and became more ambitious as the work went on. Even at the head of the creek, the water is now 20 feet deep at low tide. And a section of this great road bridge can be raised to allow boats into the upper waters. The channels and the banks have been so designed that the shifting sands are scoured out to sea on every tide. In only a quarter of a lifetime, Dubai had indeed become the most desirable harbor in Arabia. More and more of the seaborne trade of the Gulf and the Indian Ocean was done on the creek side. Manufactured goods from India, America, Europe, Japan were transshipped here, bought, sold, re-exported. And the essential quality of the port of Dubai was freedom. Freedom to buy and sell. No formality, no fuss. The simple aim to find customers for goods, goods for customers, and to see they are delivered. Nowhere in the world do the words mixed cargo have quite so deep a meaning as here. So many ocean-going ships were anxious to transship their cargoes in Dubai that another small ship harbour had to be built on the coast, a few kilometres to the north, Hamria Port, to keep the goods moving and to prevent the creek becoming choked. The creekside business multiplied over and over again, but the method of doing it remained very much the same. The code of the Dubai trader is understood from Kuwait to Zanzibar. Deals are made over the ship's side, cargoes will be bought and ships will be committed on a word. The waters in this part of the world are crossed by a web of personal relationships woven down the years. The port director knows most of the ship's captains as friends. The markets and merchant houses of Dubai are famous now, both for their size and their variety. Every day, the fleets of transcontinental trucks roll into the wholesale markets at Hamriya. They come from all the countries of Arabia. In the markets, too, are the seaborne harvests from the Far East, Africa, and South America. And when added to the produce of local fishermen and farmers, the abundance seems almost too rich to digest. In the city, there are specialist souks, not only for foodstuffs, but for almost every manufactured thing, from video recorders and electronic games to garden tools and textiles and 22-karat gold. So many nationalities, so many desires. No matter what the nature of your trade, this is a trader's paradise. There are people from over 60 countries on the banks of Sheikh Rashid's Creek, all of them here to do business and to better themselves. As the work on the creek progressed, it soon became plain that the enterprise was full of profit. Businesses clamored for sites on the new waterfront. Mud dredged from the creek bed at 1 dirham a cubic meter was worth 1,000 dirhams when it became part of a building site on the bank. Now the tall buildings on the waterfront are the very symbols and substance of the prosperous merchant city. Many of the buildings are banks, international banks, national banks, local banks. Dubai's own banks have become international, opening branches around the world. Dubai lives on trade, and trade lives on credit. Dubai is rich in oil, and oil is now a chief source of wealth. But by the time the oil was flowing from the offshore fields, the infrastructure of the city was already in place. There was no risk that Dubai would be purely a boom city, a grid of concrete that would service the oil industry. The oil came as genuine riches, capital, to be used to provide a better life for its citizens, not to swamp their culture and their character. In less than 20 years, the little town has become a metropolis, with all the problems and all the amenities of the modern multiracial city. The municipal building is probably the most boldly designed city hall built anywhere. Dubai's first council was formed in the 1950s, when the shape of things was very different. Now they must provide housing and drainage schemes and sewage systems, fire services, road networks, parks and promenades for a city of 350,000 people. The streets must be kept clean, the food has to be kept pure, and somehow amongst so many different nationalities, religions and lifestyles, the Arab culture must be preserved. Dubai is full of people here to make short-term gains. These men must take a long-term view. Dubai could have become a dirty and dangerous city. Many of the workers who came here are from the poorer third world nations. Many have come from cities that are overcrowded. Many are staying in company hostels and their families have not come with them. Yet there's no vandalism and very little violence. The city is clean, safe and beautiful. And it grows more beautiful day by day as the city's beautification program gets underway. In a city growing so fast, the desperate need for accommodation could have destroyed any chance of harmony. Sky-high rents might have alternated with the overbuilding of shoddy homes. In Dubai, the ruler moved in with a crash program of low-cost housing until he had taken the heat out of the market. Nearly everyone in Dubai is now decently housed and at a bearable rent. But of all the changes that have taken place so swiftly in Dubai, this is the most significant. At the time work on the creek began, there were no government schools in Dubai. Now there are 55, and 31 more private schools for the children of the resident expatriates. In the municipality alone, there are 27,000 pupils in school, including every child over 5 years old. And there's one teacher for every 12 pupils. For the boys, all the avenues to business, technical and professional careers are now open. So far, career opportunities in business are limited for girls, but their world is changing fast, and to get even this far is something their mothers never dreamed of. And the young people growing up in Dubai should be strong and healthy. The aim of the Department of Health and Medical Services is simply to be the best available anywhere. Treatment is free for everyone, even visitors in Dubai for business or holiday trips. Dual carriageways carry the trunk roads round the city and feed the heavy traffic directly to the docks. A system of underpasses means there's no hold-up on the radial roads leading into the city centre. At the mouth of the creek, a tunnel under the waterway allows city traffic to avoid the heavy trucks travelling between the docks at Hamria and Port Rashid. As Dubai began to grow into the great trading port that Sheikh Rashid had dreamed of, he set about designing a harbour capable of fulfilling the role. Port Rashid was opened in 1972, a $35 million harbour with 15 berths. Now there are 35, 30 for general cargo, 5 for containers. It's the kind of container port that many managers in Europe and America dream about. Container ports need space, and in Port Rashid, 20,000 containers can be laid out in spacious avenues with plenty of room for all the huge modern handling equipment to maneuver. The port can give a 22-hour service on general cargo, a 24-hour service on containers. The storage is computer controlled, and the forklifts and the straddle carriers work to radio instructions from the control tower. It all seems a long way from the creek. In fact, the nearest dhows are less than half a mile away. With port facilities like these for importing raw materials and exporting finished products, industries were bound to come. To avoid disfiguring and polluting the city, the industrial estates were sited well away from the creek. The first were those connected with the construction boom. Dubai spawned 11 concrete block factories, and between them the Emirates set up 7 cement plants. They can produce far in excess of local needs, and they'll have to export. One of the most modern and efficient plants is already rebuilding, changing the production process to produce 60% more cement and using 30% less fuel. But in Dubai, the businessmen realized that the construction boom was not going on forever. And on this industrial estate at Rashidiyah, there are several hundred companies making everything from cocktail snacks to steel billets. For the citizens of Dubai, manufacturing industry does not come naturally. they must import the raw materials, buy foreign machinery, hire foreign management and technical experts, and recruit a foreign labor force. For the foreign workers, conditions may seem tough, but there are big advantages. There's no tax, no currency restrictions, so that all their wages can be earning interest in hard currencies in Dubai banks until the day they choose to send it home. But the aim has to be towards Arab expertise and the minimum of imported labor. To set up manufacturing industries that will prosper over the long term will never be easy. The home market is small and the competition severe. And their products must compete with goods coming into the port from all over the world, virtually duty-free. The new generation are well aware that they can't afford to keep hiring expensive foreign management and still be able to compete in the marketplace. They must take over, and they must concentrate on automated plants where the machines can do the work alone. Every manufacturer is crying out for protection, for tariffs. But the very soul of Dubai is committed to free trade. The home of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce, the most powerful business organization in the city. Every company trading in Dubai must be a member, and no government tenders will be awarded without membership. Members of the board are appointed by the Sheikh, and all are themselves prominent traders of the city. Like many businessmen in Dubai, some started less than a generation ago with limited finance. Now they own banks, construction companies, international hotels, department stores. They helped create this merchant city, and they now have the task of settling business disputes, solving industrial problems, of making sure that Dubai business remains fair and profitable. It has to stay attractive to international companies and yet stay firmly under Arab control. They entertain nearly 100 trade missions a year and are determined that Dubai should be the natural place for the industrial powers of Europe, America and the Far East to come to settle their Arabian affairs. This is the centerpiece of Dubai's business world, the Trade Center, the tallest building in the Middle East. Besides the office tower, there's a luxury hotel, an exhibition hall, and blocks of residential flats for employees, all on site. Obviously, space in such a building can't be cheap. Rents are nearly double that of the best accommodation in downtown Dubai, but the companies here are the kind to whom a prestige address is important, who hire high-quality staff and want to keep them happy. They can use facilities like on-the-spot management, a lecture theatre, travel agents, post office and restaurant. The tower has become irresistible to international companies whose business is conducted worldwide. Companies in cars, computers, oil and gas, shipping, banking. Philips, IBM, Westinghouse, Lloyds, Leyland, Hughes, Hawker Siddeley, Atlantic Richfield, BP. It has established itself as a centre where the big deals are smoothly done.
Good luck, and I hope it all works out well.
Thank you very much.
Alan?
Well,
We'll do a good job, we hope.
thank you very much. We will try our best to do a good job.
And the exhibition hall is building a conference programme which is becoming solidly booked year to year. It's a convenient place for one half of the industrial and professional world to learn what the other half is doing. The Arab states are rich markets, which have moved beyond the first stage of development and are interested now to find out the latest trends in such fields as medicine, office and banking machinery, gas, computers, oil and water technology. All have been the subjects of exhibitions here. And this is something new, a travel conference. Until lately, the Arabs, particularly those in the oil-rich states, had no need to encourage tourists. The hotel facilities there catered for businessmen on expense accounts. Now Dubai is aware that travel and even tourism could be big business, and they're out to get it.
In the past decade, we lived in a seller's market, in a world where all hotels were full of people who felt obliged to come and stay with us. That decade has suddenly ended. Without warning, we now find ourselves in a new world here. Instead of waiting for guests, we have to go out into the market and persuade them to come to visit us.
Dubai makes it easy for the airlines. The Emirate operates an open skies policy, which means that any reputable airline from any country can land passengers. Now over 40 international airlines are using the airport for over 200 flights a day. It was only in 1977 that businessmen were writing from Dubai saying they couldn't find a bed. They were sleeping in the lobby of the only decent hotel on sofas. Now every major international chain has built a hotel here, all of them to the highest expense account standard. Now they're in competition for service, for food, for facilities, for price. They're not after the Costa del Sol trade, but they are aiming at the conference business, at the executive who brings his wife and stays on a few days after his work is done, or who breaks the journey from Hong Kong to Europe. The foothills by the Oman border. Not long ago, this was a dusty camel track, 2 days jeep ride from the city. Now in a couple of hours, you're in a quiet retreat for the really tired businessman, where you can turn on the videos, sip fine French wine, and practice archery amongst the bougainvilleas. Okay. 45 kilometers to the southwest of the city is a hotel designed to cater for the kind of international executive who would have business in the free trade zone of Jebel Ali, the most ambitious phase of the development of Dubai. From the hotel, he can actually see the port of Jebel Ali, the largest harbor ever made by man. Statistically, it has 67 berths. In practice, it's a port without limits. The port facilities are designed to handle the great purpose-built ships of the present-day fleets, container ships, bulk carriers, refrigerated vessels, and the raw materials needed by the industrial plants setting up in the Jebel Ali Free Trade Zone. The handling equipment is massive. The cranes in the container port have an outreach of 36 meters and can handle all known sizes of containers. For containers alone, there are 105,000 square meters of open storage and 10,000 square meters of covered storage, and there's unlimited room for growth. In 1983, the cold store opened, 42,000 square meters of refrigerated space, with temperatures controlled down to minus 26 degrees centigrade. And in the free port and the free trade zone surrounding it, there are no customs duties, free storage for 35 days, no income taxes, no taxes on profits, no restrictions on repatriating profits, and no exchange control. To match the facilities of the port, and to provide the tanker fleets of the world with all the service and repair facilities they could possibly require, Sheikh Rashid authorized the building of the biggest dry dock complex in the world. It consists of 3 docks side by side, the largest of them big enough to house a tanker of 1 million tons. The workshops can tackle any conceivable type of ship repair or refit and could eventually employ up to 5,000 people. In 1983, the new dry dock management took over and the first ships came in for service. In the free trade zone, already some 15 firms have taken leases. Foremost among them is the most energy-efficient industrial link-up that could be devised. It begins with Dugas, making liquid gas from the waste gases of the offshore fields. The waste products from Dugas are burned to drive the turbines of one of the most efficient aluminium plants in the world. And that isn't the end of this particular cheap energy chain. The waste heat from the aluminium smelters is used to desalinate seawater and provide a large part of the water supply for Dubai City. Cheap power is the first need of the aluminium manufacturing process. And the electricity here is made for next to nothing. The plant also creates technical training work for the new graduates from Dubai's secondary schools.
Dubai control room.
Yes, reading I shall give you later.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
The aluminium plant has survived the bad times when overproduction in the industry meant a halving of the market price and the closing of many smelters throughout the world. It has cut the labor force, improved the productivity, and is still working at full capacity. The quality is high. Some Japanese companies specify special Dubal billets for consistent 99% purity. Dubal and the other industries established in the free trade zone have shown already that as the world trade recovers from recession and begins to grow, the Jebel Ali concept is a highly profitable way to run international industrial plant. And the example of Dubai Creek and the Dubai Trade Center are there for all to see. This building too lay empty for a while, was called a white elephant, a monument to vain glory that would never pay its way. Now every office is taken, every staff apartment is let. There are proud companies waiting for space at what is now established as the very center of Gulf trade. Soaring above the waterfront city, the tower proclaims to the world of international commerce that whatever the scale, whatever the level of sophistication of the enterprise, Dubai, the city of merchants, is equipped and eager to do business.